This video is for Cambridge IGCSE Business Studies, and it's based on exam technique, and it's looking at how to build an argument and create an analytical point. So it can be used in many of the questions in both paper 1 and paper 2, and especially in terms of those 12 mark questions, which is asking for a judgment. Now, before you create a judgment, you obviously have to analyse, and you have to create an argument. And this video aims to help you to set up that balanced argument. So just to start off with, we're just going to go for a standard PEAL technique. I'm sure that you do it in many of your subjects. I'm sure that many of your teachers discuss a PEAL technique, and it just helps you to develop, but it also helps you to embed all the key techniques that are needed within analysis. So first of all, you need your point. Now, the point obviously depends directly on what the question's asking, and also it depends on the case study that's available to you. But you should identify a point which derives directly from the case study, so it's valid, it's suitable for what the question's asking, but also in the given situation. You should also explain why that point is valid, and especially to the question and to the given situation. And that's where you start to bring in your evidence. And your evidence has to come directly from the case study. Now, especially in paper 2, you have obviously a large case study available to you, and you have to ensure that you do read the case study directly with reference to the specific question that you are answering. What in the case study gives you the idea that this point is suitable? What in the case study allows you to start to build up your analytical argument? So you must ensure it is specific to the business within the question. If the answer could be about any business, then you are not applying context. And to get those higher level marks, you have to apply application and context to the given situation. And that's even if you've just been given a short snippet of information like you might do in paper 1. You're still given enough information within paper 1, within those short snippets of information, to apply it to that business or similar businesses within that industry. So then you can start using your evidence to create this analytical argument. And you need to just make sure that you are developing it. You have to think about logical chains of arguments. Now, there's certain phrases that you could use to help you with that. For example, this could lead to that. This could ultimately mean this. But you need to make sure that you are it's pretty much spelling it out to the examiner. Don't assume anything. Don't assume that the examiner knows exactly what you're talking about. You need to spell it out. After every sentence, you need to be asking yourself the questions: have I explained why? Have I explained how? Now remember, one of the big differences between analysis and explanation is that you are actually building an argument with analysis. So you're trying to emphasise why this is significant to this situation. If it's advantageous, you're really emphasising that this is beneficial for the firm. If it's detrimental, again, it's obvious to see from the words that you have used. And then what I'd recommend, that you always link back to what the question is asking. Have you read the question properly? Within your analysis, have you actually answered what the question is asking? And make sure that you link back. Now, when you have that 12 mark question and you have to think about a balanced argument, then after that link back, you should be then trying to create a flow and think of a counter argument. And again, follow the exact same technique as the original, but just do it for a counter argument. So if your first point was an advantage, your second point should be a disadvantage. Now, if you do this technique properly and you fully develop it for that type of 12 mark question, or again a 6 mark question, then you only need 2 points before your evaluation. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put this into practice. I'm just going to carry out an analytical point for just one argument within this question. And so let's have a look at the case study. So this case study is for Delicious Delights. And David is a successful entrepreneur. He sets up DD as a private limited company 10 years ago in Country X. He's invested all his savings when he set up DD, and he's still the major shareholder. David is the managing director and works 7 days a week. The company has increased profits every year as David develops a new range of cakes each year. David has appointed managers to control each department, and the company employs 125 people. They employ many employees for the production of the cakes. Large ovens are used to bake the cakes. David wants to increase the production efficiency and is considering 2 options. Option A, option B. You can read them yourself. We've got, I haven't included Appendix 1 because it wasn't necessary, but we've got the balance sheet, and we've got an email to the marketing manager. Now, all this information, remember, is for every question which is in this section. So therefore you might not need every single part of this case study for the question that we're going to answer. And that's why it's important that you, once you've read the question, you do go back and revisit the case study to make sure that you are picking out the key clues which relate directly to that case, that question. So we can see here, David wants to increase efficiency in his factory. Consider option A and option B, and then recommend which one he should choose. Justify your answer. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at option A to start off with. I'm going to create an analytical argument for option A. So when we have a look at the case study, we can see in option A, these are the key points that I've highlighted. So the whole option relates to training, but it relates to on-the-job training by the most experienced employees, and David estimates efficiency would increase by 10%. So because the argument itself is saying, should it be option A or should it be option B, we need to look at the main advantages of option A within our first analytical argument. So my first point is the option of on-the-job training would be beneficial to the workforce as it's utilising the specialist nature of their most experienced employees. So that's my point. There's evidence because it comes from the case study as well, but I need to develop this further. I need to explain why this is a valid point and how it would be beneficial to the workforce. So the experienced employees would be able to offer extensive training based on their knowledge, which would be specific to the business to help develop their existing workforce. This training would therefore increase skill level for production, and as the extract states, hopefully increase efficiency by 10%. So I've highlighted within my written paragraph the developmental phrases, again the knowledge, and also the application. And we can see by utilising the specialist nature of the most experienced employees, based on their knowledge, specific to the business, develop, increase in skill level, increase in efficiency by 10%, we start to create an argument why option A might be a good point. And remember, there's not that much information in this case study for option A. But because it's a 12 marker, and you need to set up for option B, what I would recommend that you turn PEAL into kind of like a peeled, and what I mean by the D is like a depends upon point. So I would just do a depends upon argument to this to then kind of help you to flow and move into option B. So then I said, however, it does depend on their ability to train other workers. They might be experienced, but can they mentor, coach, or support the workforce? It's different attributes being able to do your job effectively, but then also teaching this to other staff. If bad habits are passed on, or they find it hard to communicate, then efficiency may not increase. And by offering that depends upon, it allows you to then move into, well, what about option B then? Could option B be the right option? And you start to create balance within your arguments. Now, for option B, I'm not going to carry out the analytical argument. I'd recommend that you have a go yourself, but I have highlighted some important parts that can help you with this paragraph. First of all, automated production line is going to require an investment of $8 million. That's obviously quite a large amount. The question is, how are they going to be able to fund it? Obviously, they have got quite high levels of non-current fixed assets, but are they expected to sell any of them to make that investment? Would they sell maybe outdated machinery, which is potentially depreciated and lost its value? Again, would they use some of their current assets? Their liquidity has already been reduced. They are still liquid, and they've still got a current ratio of 1.67. So how I did that was I got my current assets and I divided that by my current liabilities. But it's not as high as the 2013 current ratio of 2. Again, acid test ratio is slightly better, But again, if we're looking at it from a point of view of the relationship between their current assets and their current liabilities, 1.17 is not exactly high. So you could say that their liquidity is starting to maybe decline a little bit. So again, are they in the best financial position to do so? It's going to cause redundancies. So again, think about the cost of redundancies. You're going to have to provide redundancy packages to the workforce. Off-the-job training, so being maybe sent out to specialists. That again, it can be expensive to do. So option B, it's incredibly, I suppose, expensive, and that could be one of the biggest disadvantages. But then you have to look at the advantages. So the advantages of automated production line is we're looking at a continuous production line. It's faster than the human workforce. It can do longer shifts. It doesn't need to have breaks. It doesn't need to follow certain labour legislation. It can be literally running 24/7 if needed. So we can look at it from that point of view, and the automated production line, you could argue, might allow them to achieve, I suppose, technical economies of scale, because they are boosting output at a much faster rate because of the technology, and also by doing so, it's much more productive, and therefore they're increasing output at a lower average unit cost. But the initial finance, the initial cost of the investment is going to be incredibly high. So that's how you could maybe create your option B argument.